Good morning, everybody in the wrestling world. Unpopular Review Entertainment presents a conversation, a celebration in the life, not just in the wrestling ring, but as the person, the father, the husband, the man that Jay Briscoe was, still, and forever will be in this life and the next. We ask you to like, follow, subscribe to if not anything we've ever done before, but to pay homage and respect to your wrestling legends, right? Like everything you do, you love wrestling. You hang on every whim of a professional wrestler. Well, let's talk about and let's hang on the fact we lost another one way too soon. I'm your host for this special presentation, Mike Knoxxx. I am joined, it's been a long time, by my brother over here, the Z is Silent, DJ, Dice Man himself. What's going on, Dice Man? How you doing?
What up, everybody? Listen, the Alpha and the Omega are back. The Mega Powers are back. Whatever dominant faction that you want to claim, we are back. We are back. And this is a special presentation. So, and there's be another presentation. This is just a tip of the iceberg because I have a new show, Alpha Talk, Omega Debate. And if you want to talk, we can talk. But if you want to debate, come for me. Don't come for me unless I send for you. But this is something that hits really hard, and I didn't want to just go through the best of Jay Briscoe. I wanted to uplift him because the reaction that we've gotten or his family has gotten on the impact that he's had on Delaware alone, like. People can talk Joe Flacco, Della Don when they talk that, but they talk that up top. But down here in Sussex County, around these country parts,
What they call it?
it's all about the boys.
Lower Delaware and once upon a time.
I'm not saying slower. Like, I'm not saying slower.
If up top is up top, then lower is lower. That's just what it is. But one of the things that when I first got introduced to Lower Delaware, that was like they call it God's country, and I remember being offended saying, "Well, isn't all of it God country?" But they refer to it as God's country down there in Lower Delaware. What a memory. First of all, what a tragic news for those who are not caught up in the loop or know the true story about what actually happened. He was in a head-on collision with they say drunk driver, but I would say a drug driver. Lady crosses over into his lane, full needle in her arm, crashes into Jay Briscoe's truck, not killing him, but as well his children were in critical condition. You can enlighten the wrestling there, and it just the wrestling world has mourned. I mean, your favorite wrestler has all chimed in and paid their respects. When this is when we say, let's thank God Vince McMahon wasn't in charge, because WWE even acknowledged him on the show, on the air, with the brands. This wouldn't have happened a year ago if this would have happened with so-called VKM being in charge. So I'm glad that the world got to just not only hear of his untimely death, but know his name. We're not going to be here today by ourselves. We're going to be joined by one S. Thomas live, and another friend of the program that Dice has reached out to, and you as well. Comment below. Let us know your favorite Briscoe moments, Jay Briscoe moments, whatever it is. And real fast, Dice, if you don't mind me starting here.
That's right.
I remember a while ago, remember I was driving a bus, wearing the same Eagles jersey I got on right now. I had a bus trip to New York with some kids, and I'm stopping at a Popeyes. If you know the Briscoes, you know they love chicken. Okay. And I'm sitting in Popeyes, and my guy, who's a Giants fan, has no clue about wrestling, and I'm like, yo, I think that's Jay Briscoe, the Briscoe brothers. And of course, if you know them, and I didn't know them personally, you know what I mean? I just happened to meet them that day, but all the stories coming in is same impression I got. I walked up, and if you know me, Dice, I don't really talk to wrestlers like that. When they're in their private moments with their families, I believe you let them have that moment to themselves, because they don't get that. And I'm looking, and he hears me talking, and he goes, "Hey, you want a picture?" And I like, yeah, like a groupie, eating my fried chicken. And I got that picture with the Briscoe brothers at Popeyes. And, I love Popeyes myself. So I just thought that was one of my moments I had with them. Also being in was Final Battle. That's what it was called. So remember the one year in WrestleMania, I didn't go to NXT Takeover. I decided to do a Ring of Honor show, and they were a part of that show as well. So many memories out there about Jay Briscoe.
What year? What year was that? What year was that?
Well, you know I'm bad with years.
Was that 13?
Whatever New Orleans was.
I think that was 13 or 14.
So that was the year the Elite was ascending to being the Elite, and Cody was there, and they were doing that kind of stuff like that. Wasn't 2013?
Might have been 16. It might have been
about
16.
Maybe about 6 years ago, I think, was New Orleans.
It might have been 16 because it's funny that you mentioned Final Battle, because one of our honorable mentions happens to be a Final Battle match that Jay Briscoe had, and it ascended his being a singles star, right? Like we know what him and Mark do together, but Jay is at a different hemisphere when it comes to like what he does. Like he taps into a different persona when he's in a single mode, and it was Mark is great, Jay is great, but it's something about Jay that he just has something about him. You can't put your finger on it, but you hear everybody talking about him. And they all just say it's just something about him that you can't put your finger on, but he has it. And that Final Battle matchup between him and EC3 was amazing, because this was EC3 coming off of being released from WWE and kind of just torn the indies. And he was just showing up any and everywhere, and he was still at the top of his game. He was going back to prime EC3 that we knew and loved before he got to NXT. And then, you know, NXT, he was still great. But then when he got to the main roster, he was big trash in the chat. But that match between those two guys, amazing. And it's funny that you mentioned Popeyes, because listening to Busted Open on Wednesday, it was a really, really hard listen.
It was.
And to hear the stories that Tommy Dreamer would tell about Mark and Jay, when he would mention, oh, they just got done with a show, and he's in the truck with another wrestler. He's like, oh, there goes the Briscoes. Let's ask them for a ride. And they're like, nah, we're good. They're sitting outside of 7-Eleven drinking beers with the fans. Like, I've never had a bad encounter to where, you know, you see somebody, you kind of feel like a groupie. You don't want to feel like a groupie, but you can't help to speak about pro wrestling when you see them. And I remember the first time that, you know, my man, shout out to Jeff Murphy, him and his fam, send prayers and positive thoughts to them.
And he's backstage as well, ready to come on air as well.
And I remember going to, I think it was a housewarming or a barbecue. And
I remember that story.
Mark and Jay are there, and I'm like, oh snap! Like, yo, the Briscoes is here. Like, yo, I want to ask him so many questions right now. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. I was like, nah, but I don't want to be that guy.
I remember being mad at you not giving us an interview.
I was like, oh man, like I can't do it. Like I'm sitting there, I come up to Mark, and I'm like, yo, and Mark's just scarfing down his potato salad. You know what I'm saying? I'm like talking to him about wrestling, but he literally took the time to talk to me. You know, and that's one of the things that everybody loves about the Briscoes. They're not full of themselves, and they always are very, they never forget where they come from, ever. And even when I was working at GameStop, when they come in, I'm like, what's up, champ? Like, I was slipping them my discount, my employee discount under the table and helping him get a Nintendo Switch for his kids, a DS, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to show them my appreciation. And then the last thing I had to share, well, two things. One, I remember the first time that Jeff had told me that they were his brothers-in-law, and he said, "Yeah, let's go to the farm. Let's go to the farm." I'm like, "The farm? All right, let's check it out." And we walk in, and it's the ring that they do their promos that they train in. I'm like, "Oh, man, like this is dope." Like I'm sitting here. I'm like, all right, bet. Let me take a jump off the top rope. Like as a kid, I wanted to be a wrestler. I'm taking this dive off the top rope, elbow drop. Boy, hit that funny bone. You know what? Y'all got it. I'm good on that. And then the last thing I wanted to share is I remember running into him in Walmart, and I said, "What's up, champ?" I said, "What's going on, man?" I said, "Listen, man." I said, "The one thing that we want, everybody wants, we need it. We need you and the Briscoes. That's all we need. That's all we need. 1A, 1B, however, this is at the height of the Uso penitentiary. So Usos are on one. more than just as much as they are with the bloodline right now. They were on one that Uso Penitentiary run, and then it was them boys in the Indies killing. And he said, I remember, I'll never forget, he said, we're working on it, we're trying, but we got to do what's best for family. And that's the most important thing. And I think anybody that knows these guys from Delaware or know of them, family is always important to them. And that's what made them so great, because they arguably they are the greatest tag team to not compete in WWE.
I would say absolutely. It's not even a question to me.
It's not close.
I am not the biggest indie guy, but being that I'm a mutt, meaning I'm, born in Chicago, raised in Philadelphia, became a man in Delaware, you cannot be from the first state and not know who these guys are. It's just they were that big, they were that important. And speaking of family, I know everybody's probably pressed for time that's backstage, so we want to thank everybody for coming on. Jeff Murphy's backstage. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on real fast. What's going on this morning, Jeff? How you doing?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
I'm all right. How you holding up, my brother? I know
I'm hanging in there.
Reading your tweets and your annoyance with the world and people's.
Yeah, it's been a little much, but they're hanging in there, man. It's just whenever shit like that happens. Oh, can I cuss?
You're right ahead, brother. This is I pay for this.
Whenever shit like that happens, man, it's always like the first one to the news. They make the money, and it kind of like it irritated me because every time I seen a liquor store put out stuff, and I seen different small businesses put out stuff, and it's like, we'll donate 50% of the proceeds to the family. Like the family didn't ask for that. The family didn't ask for that, and I don't know. I had time that day, and I usually don't try to get involved in that, but it shit pissed me off.
That's definitely not your style. Yeah, that's definitely not what I normally see from you. You're always more positive and upbeat when it comes to things.
I had
Very
time.
seldom.
I had time.
If it's okay to ask, how's any updates on the children and
children? Yeah, I talked to my sister last night, so I'm pretty close to the situation. We talk about every day about 10 o'clock when they kind of settle in, things kind of become real again. Like, it's hard. Mornings are hard. I'm sure everybody's lost somebody. Mike, I know you've lost your mom, and Dice, I know you've lost people as well, CJ and whatnot. And when that happens, it's very hard. The mornings are hard because you wake up and you realize, like, shit, it's real. Like, we're here. Mm-hmm. And I know mornings have been tough, but during the day, we all are, people are just always at mom and dad's house. They call them Granny and Paul. So my sister and Mark have been over there, and they've just been surrounded with love. We went over Thursday night. We went over there Thursday night, and it was tough, man, just seeing everybody like that. But the kids are improving every day. My sister went up there Friday. She's, they're struggling with basic things. They're going to have to learn how to walk again, use the restroom, motor skills. They're talking and communicating, which is great. Their brother got up there as well, which kind of lifted their spirits. But yeah, it's a long road, man, regardless of what happens. If they, it's not when. I think it's kind of, just like if they're going to get better. Once they get out of that hospital setting, we'll see a lot more improvement. But that just starts another road. Like, you got to go back to that house alone. And that all of it's just kind of hard mentally to process for me, because I've known them for so long. Like, you know what I mean? And it doesn't seem real for me. I told my sister, I've told Mark, I said, I'm really struggling with this. They're very religious people, and they're trusting in God and stuff. But to me, I just wake up angry. I'm just like, it shouldn't be.
Right.
This shouldn't be happening. Like, we shouldn't have to deal with this.
Now you hear the story and how it took place and whatnot. It's like, Jesus.
And I don't really know how much of it's public knowledge, but from my little bit of research, they released the woman's name. I went to her Facebook, and I was just disgusted by what I think really happened. She was a recovering addict.
Yeah.
And I don't have any ill will towards people. Everybody has demons. Everybody has problems. But when you drive and you bring those problems out, this is what happens. You take somebody's life.
It's the same as drunk driving, which is, that's the term they use. But I mean, to be that bad off, and you can't even get nothing from the situation as far as punishment is concerned, because she's gone as well.
She's punished as well, but it's sad because, like, this dude, I mean, you guys shared some different stories, but everything I've read has been amazing. Like the first night, I think I was on Twitter for 5 hours, just
it was amazing.
refreshing. And my favorite story so far that I've read is one of my buddies I went to school, Johnny. He was a cop at the time, and his wife shared this story. And I think this speaks volumes of who Jay and Mark are, because I can't mention Jay without Mark, because they were
BRISCOE
always
brothers.
together. Yeah,
Yes.
it really was that. Even when Jay went on his singles run, it always was that. They always did stuff together here at home. But Johnny was responding to a call, suicidal lady, and he noticed a BRISCOE poster in a room. So he seen Jay at the gym, and he sent him a message like, "Hey man, can you send me a quick video of, just some motivational stuff? I got somebody here who needs it." And Jay dropped whatever he was doing, went and got Mark. They went to the hospital, sat with the girl, prayed with the girl, signed some merch, like that type of stuff. This is a professional wrestler. Like, yes, they were on the indies, and people think indies, they're scratching and clawing. These boys weren't scratching and clawing for money. They did fine for themselves. I'll say that. And to take that time for someone in need, that speaks volumes of who they are and kind of what they've always represented. Not only, just for me and my family, and my sister and the kids and everything. Like, he would do this for a stranger, just a fan. And that's probably one of my favorite stories that I've seen. Obviously, Jay coached football. I've seen him at the baseball field, basketball, everything. Like, they still did all this stuff for their community, and that speaks to the man he is.
Adorable.
Yeah, I can't watch it, bro. I can't watch it.
It's so great, man.
I remember seeing it. It actually, watching it this time around. I'm a softy. I know my name is spelled with 3 X's, but when it comes to kids and family, I'm a big softy, and
you have children,
and just started crying. Yeah, you know what I mean.
You have children, and I think it hits home a little bit more because, like, often I don't want to get on a tangent about mental health and men and all that, but often we're looked at as we're not allowed to be. We can't have emotions.
Can't show emotions.
We can't struggle. We can't, feel. I think is a good word to put out there. We can't feel for each other, and he never cared. He did whatever those girls wanted. He loved his kids, man. And seeing that, it's like, I got 2 boys of my own. And it's like, shit, like, that could have been me. I've driven down that road a million times. My sister lived on that road. Like, it could have been anybody. And I think that's the hard pill to swallow for a lot of us locally. It's like, it's sad. It's just sad. There's not a lot to say.
You want to know the crazy thing? And because you say that, right? My child's mother was 2 cars behind the accident.
Oh, wow.
Saw it and texted me that she was going to be late. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together until Mike calls me and asks me if I was okay. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he tells me, I'm like, no, I was dumbfounded. Dumbfounded. Because like that time, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen.
Found out, I had one of my wrestling friends, he Snapchatted me a message. It was like, "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "What'd you do? Like, what happened? Like, what's going on?" And as I type what's going on and I see the little bubbles come up, my sister calls or my mom calls. And I'm like, Mom's crying. I can't understand her. She's like, "Just call your sister. Something's wrong." And I'm like, all right. So I call my sister. She doesn't answer. And I'm like, oh, God, something is wrong. Like, she always answers. And I finally get a hold of her and I hear the news and everything. And it's just kind of like surreal. I'm just like in disbelief. And it locally, like I said, I think that's just kind of where he kind of speaks more so into being that person. We all knew he was that person. And I don't know how much you guys have discussed on here about Turner and all that stuff.
Haven't got there yet. And I was gonna, if I can interrupt you for one moment.
Absolutely.
Being a part of this world, as long as I've been a part of the wrestling world, I know everybody there maybe watching don't know me, but I get intake a lot. And so when this first came down and I hit dice with it, it was one of them things like, is this some BS? But how has the world, or has anybody in the world, shall I say, the Jerichos, the Triple H's, the Seth Rollins, who are tweeting these things, and they've done significantly helping them, donating to help the family move forward and whatnot. Have anybody reached out other than the? It's not a GoFundMe. It's not a GoFundMe. It's something I hadn't saw before when this was put together to help out. Matter of fact, Dice, you get that information?
They
surpassed it. What it was.
It's at 270. It's at 276. It's a foundation locally. It's called the Good Old Boy Foundation.
Yeah.
And they, whenever something happens locally, they kind of come together and lead the charge with the community and stuff like that. So he's actually a family friend. Josh is a family friend of the Pews. And when it all happened, he kind of put that together in a few days. And it started at 50K, went to 100, 200. Now we're getting close to 300K, which is really, really awesome. My sister and the family spoke with Tony. Tony's going to do some awesome things too. It's not public knowledge yet, but once he releases that, you know,
and that's the part that's also unfair, that they were stopped by the powers that be of giving a better celebration of life, if you will.
Yeah,
on national television.
On national, because you see the stuff Impact has done and people have done quietly, but on the national stage for past.
I was super excited for the show Wednesday night because I was like, this will be good. We're going to get some good wrestling. We're going to get a proper tribute. And then they flashed the banner before the show comes on. So I'm like, okay, we've seen that already. That's all over the place. And then there's not really, they mention it, but I mean, they've mentioned it on SmackDown. They mentioned it on NXT. I'm sure we'll hear from it Monday night. We'll hear about it. That speaks more volume to me than anything AEW can do, because this man never stepped foot in a WWE ring. And all these people respect and love him. And I just think that's really huge. And then you see New Japan and Noah and all these different companies. Like, we see, what happened. I don't want to compare situations because obviously bad things happen. But you see DeMar Hamlin and all that. That's all state-based. This man touched people all over the world. Yeah. Japan is a long, long ways away. And to say, like, I had a 20-year run where I have fans everywhere, like, I know he's smiling. I know he's happy to kind of see what's going on and how he's smiling.
I'll be honest with you. I'm getting up there in age. People make fun of my age, and I always, jokingly say, like, one could only wish they could have an impact on life on people when they're gone. And it's not many people in the wrestling business that you hear be talked about in such a respectable man and person as he has been spoken about. And I think that's beautiful in itself. Like to also bring on, if we can, one Mr. Scott Thomas. I know you guys probably follow him on the TikTok. I call it the Talk Tick. Before we go ahead and give our top 5 and matches, I want to keep speaking about the man himself real fast. He has a little video that he put together. I had to edit it out a little bit for copyright purposes, but take a look at this real fast before we bring Scott Thomas on. Scott Thomas, thank you for taking the time out also on this Sunday. We appreciate you. How you doing?
Brother?
Holding it together the best I can, man.
Well, welcome to the program. And you've been a long time fan. First time having you on. I appreciate it. Your thoughts of the man, Mr. Jamie Pugh.
So this has been a week from hell. Talking with my friends from Laurel, that are all close to them. And, I read a quote that the world lost Jay Briscoe, but his friends and family lost Jamie Pugh. And that's exactly right. You know what I mean? Everybody knew him as the wrestler, the worldwide, Briscoe brothers, the 13-time world champs, but nobody ever got to see the dad he was, the husband he was, just the person he was. I mean, I met this guy, I probably say 6 or 7 years ago. His wife had called me because they wanted to add wheels and tires to their truck. And I've known Ashley since 2001, 2002, but I never really knew Jamin. And I was fortunate where I was able to deliver the truck to them and meet him. And the first time I ever met him, I was starstruck. This is a world champion. You know what I mean? And he acted like he had known me for years. He made me feel like I was his friend. And funny story. The morning of the accident, him and I were actually texting back and forth about shooting a video for work. Trying to come up with something that was funny, but something where we could have a good time. And that's just the kind of person he was, man. He would text me every now and then, just to actually check in to make sure everything was good. And getting that call that night, man, that's probably one of the hardest phone calls I've ever had to take in my life. And seeing the love from the community, everybody coming together the way they have, that's great and all. But once these girls start healing and getting back to hopefully getting back to the way things were, because of a senseless act, they'll never have their dad there for them again. And that's the part that hits me the hardest, because I've lost my dad. It wasn't like this, but I lost my dad when I was 10 years old. So I can only imagine once these girls get better and get to where they need to be, as far as they can go with what they've been dealt, they're never going to have their dad there again because of a senseless act. And that's what hurts me the most. So,
we're all fathers here.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of what hurts the most. Once you get past, we've all experienced loss, right? And we can understand, at least I would hope people can understand, there's after that, what's next? And that's what you're speaking on, okay, we lost this tragic accident. Damn, we have to mourn this great man, father, friend, brother, son. But now his children have to live with this. I lost my mother as an adult, a full-grown adult, and to this day it bothers me.
Absolutely.
So my prayers are definitely with his family, and friends who knew him. And again, I just hearing you speak, hearing Dice speak, and reading, even Charmaine's in the chat room when she's mad at him. She said like 20 years ago, you know what I mean, and things like that. Just hearing. And again, my one experience meeting him at the Popeyes, it was just like you said, I don't think it could be put in or said any better. He just really made you feel like, you know what I mean? Like I'm in a.
He was your friend, right? I'm
like, man, you don't come get this picture, and I'm like, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just speaks
that's why. I didn't mean.
I love you, Jeff.
Love you, brother.
And that's why listening to Bust It Open on Wednesday was so hard. It's a really good show, but you could tell it hit a person like Mickie James so hard because she came up with with Jay and Mark in Ring of Honor. So like she's had a really personal relationship with those guys, and she was silent at least 2.5 hours of the show. She couldn't take it. But the stories that Tommy Dreamer spoke about, and he said that every time that he's seen Mark and Jay, they would never turn down a picture. ever. Like, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's pretty true. That's from what I know, that is pretty true. They are some of the most down to earth people that I've gotten to meet, even though like they are in a different stratosphere as far as status goes. But like they've never forgotten where they came from.
They're hometown heroes.
Hometown heroes.
Always stayed humble.
Statewide heroes. And
I just hate the fact that Jeff can sit in his chair like that. First of all, I'm sorry. It just
everybody,
makes me mad. I can't sit like that.
Jeff is doing yoga or something.
Yeah, he's doing DDP yoga.
It's just. I mean, like, and then looking at the contribution from heroes that we look up to in wrestling, Chris Jericho. This is why Chris Jericho is one of the most classiest wrestlers ever. He donated to
KO and Rollins. I really like what they had wrote.
Oh,
yeah, that
KO's
meant a lot.
Bar none was the greatest that I've seen. Jericho donates a big amount. Kenny Omega, Nick and Matt Jackson, Kevin Steen, like everybody like that you would think that are like too high of a pedestal, and they are looking at one of our hometown heroes as one of their own, and they
that speaks for that. That speaks for that club that I've spoken to you about. When you get a chance to be in those circles, they have to stick with each other like that. Yeah. They have to. Because that can happen to anybody at any given time. I remember it's not to make anything religious or anything like that, but I've always understood tomorrow's not promised to me. I hate it when the kids live the whole YOLO life, but I understand it. You know what I'm saying? You only live once. If we can celebrate, right? We've kind of mourned right now. Like let's celebrate some of our favorite moments and matches.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Me and my wife, we took our kids to New York in December, and we're up there. And my sister texted me that Friday, and she's like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, we're in New York." And she hits me with, "No way." She was like, "We got a house show up there, and I'm bringing all 7 kids. You want to come?" And I'm like, "Bruh, I want to come. That's cool." Like, I've been backstage with him one time at like a local show in Laurel. My grandma went to it, and like I loved it. I just house shows are amazing because it's so small. And this is for House of Glory. I will say, House of Glory. This is a little tangent, but those belts are heavy as hell. Because I was over there for Christmas, and I was trying to do the Roman Reigns picture he do when he holds them both up. Man, my arms was burning. My arms was burning. But anyway, we get to the show early, and we pull up, and I see Jay in the corner or whatever by himself. I'm like, "Yo," and he turns, and he's like, I guess nobody was supposed to know he was there yet. I was like, "Yo, it's good. It's just me. It's just me." He was like, all right. So we talked. I was like, "Where we park at?" And he helped me find a parking spot. We come in, and the wrestlers are doing the walkthrough or whatever. And I don't ever want to know. My sister knows, but I don't want to know the outcome of the match. I was going to shoot the match because I had my camera with me, and I love photographing wrestling. So I asked if there was any spots, and she was like about to tell me. I was like, "Never mind. I'm just going to go down and get as close as I can, whatever." So the night goes on. Mark sneaks out a few times. He's got his hoodie on. He buys the kids pizza. It's first time all 7 of his kids are there to wrestle, and they're the champs at the time or whatnot. And they're the main event. The main event comes up. Their music hits. The place goes crazy. It's amazing. And it's like my oldest son is with me. My youngest son is with me. My oldest isn't into wrestling as much anymore, but it was cool because he knew them. He knows Mark. We played football with them on Thanksgiving,
Turkey Bowl, baby.
Turkey Bowl, yeah. It was a good time. And they come out, everybody's electric, and I'm taking all these photos and stuff. And the match goes on. It's a young tag team. They're called Main Event. It's kind of gimmicky. The dude has like a lion mane. They're kind of I don't know.
Hey,
they're real gimmicky. But they were great in the ring. So anyway, the match is going on, and I've sat Mark's kids in the front row. I picked them up and put them there, and Mark gets clotheslined out of the ring, and he reaches over to like, how they reach in the crowd, and he grabs his kid's hand, and I get this moment on camera or whatever. So after the match is over, they end up dropping the belts because this is their contract with Ring of Honor, so they're going around in most of those indie spots and dropping the belts or whatever. So because they're going to do all the other stuff. And after the match, I get in the back and I'm showing them the photos, and Jay's there, and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And they're like, "Come on!" And I go back there, and what's his name? The guy that does the GTS. Why am I having a blank?
CM Punk.
No, he's
Kenta.
Another guy.
Kenta.
Kenta.
Yes, Kenta.
Okay, my bad. That I disrespect
The original.
the original. My bad.
He's in the back, and he just had a match, and I'm talking to all them guys, man, and it's just like it was a family, you know, with Jay. Like when you were with Jay, they knew you were family because it was just all about the kids. They took the picture. My Jamin's kids weren't there that night, but my brother's kids were. And just seeing how they acted, you know, around them, the respect that they walked into. And this is just a 200, maybe 200 person house show. And I mean, during the match, Jamin's in the crowd with us. He grabs a dude's beer and throws it in one of the guys' faces. And they're just brawling in the crowd. And my kids are there and they're having a blast. And it's just like those little things. They put it all on the line for like 200, 150 to 200 people. And for me, like, out. That's one of my kids coming here now. No. Go. And to put it all on the line in front of 150, like, it makes me sad they didn't get to do it at WrestleMania, because I always talk to Mark about that. Like, obviously, no matter where you're at in your life, you do something, you want to do it at the top. One day, it doesn't matter how long, you want that pinnacle. You want to reach it. And once you've achieved it, you know, Mania is it for me. Mm-hmm. But I will say they are both, from our conversations that I've had with them, they are both extremely proud of the shows they did at the Tokyo Dome, because that's just another level.
That's a big deal.
That's it. Yeah,
that's just as big as Madison Square Garden. That's
exactly
just as big as a WrestleMania.
It's it's like the foreign Madison Square Garden is kind of how he was explaining it to me. And that's just one of those things, man. Like, I think I'll always remember that night. Because we weren't going to go. It was in Brooklyn. We were in Manhattan.
Just happened to be there.
Yeah. Right. And it was like, my wife was like, it's 40-minute drive, and we couldn't find parking. It was just like, let's just go and see what happens. And I'm so happy we did, because it was special, man. And that's one of my favorite stories. And then I have another one I can share a little bit later. I worked on a promo for them 4 years ago. And that was one of the first times I got to
remember that.
Jamin, the wrestling mind. And I got to get in his mind and kind of see how it worked. And he just had such a cool, creative, like, mind for like how he wanted stuff done. He was so anal about it. And at the time, you know, you're working on a video for a guy who works for a company you watch every week. I'm nervous as hell. I'm like, I gotta make sure this is perfect.
I can't fuck this up. Right.
Yeah, I spent so much time on this video, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. But yeah, that's just one of those things, like, you don't get to do that a lot. And he thought enough of me to call me and be like, hey, can you do this for us? And it meant a lot. So
I remember
that's one of my
video.
favorite moments.
I remember that video. And I remember
seeing your Snapchat with that.
Yeah, no, but
I was like, you were so close. You were so close to them. Like,
the house.
You was like walking in the crowd. I was like, yo, he's literally that close. And he was like, fuck him up. I was like, oh my God.
Kick his
like
ass.
Right back and touch on him. Yeah. I'm like,
hit him with a chair.
I remember that.
I remember it too, but I don't think I found you on Snapchat when I seen this. It must be one of your other social medias that probably.
Yeah,
Twitter,
I think I posted it on Twitter or
Facebook. Facebook. But the one that you mentioned there about 200, 150 people to the Tokyo Dome. If you cannot put on for 150, how do you expect to put on for the Tokyo Dome?
But that's the mindset they had, man. And my sister just texted me and asked me to come by the house. I'm probably gonna head over there after I get off here with you guys. But when I went to Granny's house, which is their mom's, she has a BRISCOE room, and I walked in. Obviously, I was a little emotional. His belts are in there. They actually. I don't know if I can even say this, but
no,
I think people know that they get to keep belts.
MDT
had a piece on her.
He actually brought one of the belts to Sound FX. That's
the Jay Briscoe belt
you have with him on your chest.
No, it was
on your chest, right?
The TNA belt he brought. When they were the tag champs there.
Well, I don't know if this is public knowledge, but they're going to retire the Ring of Honor belts, and Mark is going to keep them. But they were in, like I said, they were in this room.
That's awesome.
It's breaking news too.
And I walked in to see all these posters of shows they've done all over the world. I mean, names on there we've watched. We love AJ Styles. We love Kevin Owens. Tyler Black, also
Matt Hardy.
Seth Rollins, Matt Hardy, Matt and Jeff Hardy had a match with them in their high school. Top 5 tag match ever. If you guys haven't seen it, watch it on YouTube. I was a big Hardy's fan growing up, so when they told me they were finally doing that, it's so good. It's so good. The quality's not great, but the match is amazing. But yeah, the room just kind of takes you back, and it kind of put me in a space where I've always known Jamin Pugh. I didn't watch a lot of indies. I'm kind of like you, Mike. Mm-hmm. I respected it, and I would go to their house and watch their matches with the kids and different stuff like that. But I just never followed that Ring of Honor. We didn't have it on our television around here. But like I said,
I lived up north and it wasn't in on it. You know what I mean? It just was hard to find and watch.
And walking in to see just how much he accomplished in his career, they did. Like, I'm just like,
20 years.
This guy was like way better than I even thought. And that's hard to do because I just thought of him as just like such a cool dude. Even you
speak on, and I was going to say it, and you said it for me. I'm with you. I'm not the biggest indie guy, right? But I remember
I just don't have time.
You don't have time.
It's not as easily accessible
outside of the main stuff.
It's right to assess, but
it's not
when
on Fox.
See these guys, when you see them, if you're a wrestling fan, right,
you know who they are.
No, but absolutely. Not just that, but when you see them, if you don't know who they are, right, you've heard the name, but you see them, you go, there's something about these guys. I want to know more. This isn't one of those guys you see in the indies. You go, oh, this guy's doing the Michael Jackson, or no offense toward whatever the guy who he would grab his nuts, all that nonsense. You know what I mean? It just never made any sense to me. You know what I mean? But these guys you saw, and just their swag and how they carried themselves. And I remember for myself personally, watching, it was like, yo, these dudes are from Delaware. So automatically, which is funny, I always make fun of whatever, but they're from Delaware, you know what I
mean? with Jay, like, you watch some of his promos over the years, and he's listening to old school rap, and like I think he just knew how to plug into all the wrestling fans, and he found a way to just relate. Like, they came out to Leonard Skinner, and then there was all the stuff about them wearing the Confederate flag. I'll tell you guys this: they have a brother, and they grew up with him. It's their best friend, and he is African American. And like, there is not an ounce of that in that home, in their minds.
Tiberius?
No, not Ty.
Essen?
Yeah,
but we try to get Tiberius.
Well, on. He was backstage.
He was having some trouble because it kept saying that mobily it was trying to get him out on speakerphone.
Shout out to Essen Ennis.
These guys.
I'm gonna just keep speaking on that part too, Jeff, because I was one of the ones who honestly saw that image, and of course, that's what I related to. And then,
absolutely, that's
people
what
like yourself and other people. And again, I said I'm not saying I know them, because I don't met them. You know a racist when you see a racist. You can hear it.
Yes, absolutely.
You can feel it. You can feel it. It was absolutely none of that from these gentlemen. And again, and I always say this when it comes to wrestling. It's all subjective, people. You know what I mean? And it's all entertaining. It's comedy. It's what we grew up loving. You couldn't even watch today. Real fast before we get Scott Thomas's favorite moments, just to go through yours, Dice, real fast. 5 through 4. Speak on.
Let's go through the honorable mentions.
The honorable mentions first. Okay.
Let's do that. Because it's 9 matches, right? If you guys didn't get a chance to see this is one of the greatest matches that I have seen by far in professional wrestling, period. Not just an indie, not just a smaller company, like, period. The run that Jay was on,
like with a
and
team,
the run that Lethal was on, like, it was amazing. Like, you have the world television champ versus the world champ, all on the line.
They really elevated that belt.
He came up short, but there was a newfound respect from a guy like Jay Lethal, who was one of the greatest singles wrestlers in Ring of Honor. But Briscoe was still not regarded as he was still a tag team guy. This what made them believe.
Yeah, this made people look at him.
It made them believe. And that match was incredible. I just watched that match 2 nights ago, And I'm like, could you imagine Jay Briscoe versus Seth Rollins in WWE?
I just hate they didn't get a chance. I'm being honest. I just hate they didn't get a
I
chance.
mean, there's a video that was just posted on Twitter about his WWE promo telling the story about their tryout where they weren't cosmetically pleasing.
Yeah.
But you had the Bushwhackers. But y'all had the Bushwhackers. Another one. Mark Briscoe versus Jay Briscoe.
They beat the hell out of each other.
This match happened because they lost the tag championship
and they were
belts in Ring of Honor, and they needed to toughen each other up.
On the farm.
They were beefing.
On the farm one.
Yeah, on the farm one was awesome.
They needed to toughen each other up.
Sold the hell out of that shit.
Papa Briscoe is goated.
Yes, sir.
And I'll just take a second to say, if you got, you religious, pray for him. It's hard right now, man. Like losing your son is a hard thing as a father, and I can't imagine. And that's
having to bury your kids.
The greatest movie line of all time. One of them, yeah. That's what he's saying in the movie. I will bury my son will bury me. I will not bury my son. That's I believe in that as well.
Very hard.
I had to break out the good stuff today, bro.
This one, Dice, because this is the one for me, if I can speak on.
07.
I've always told you I was a Kevin Steen guy. I was an El Generico guy. If you do know me and listen to me, when it does come to indies, I'm not saying Ring of Honor's indie. It's just I didn't have time for it. But this is one of those matches and those guys that I did follow. Yeah. And this match was one of the matches I was like, yo, when these guys come up, because you looked at Ring of Honor, you go, or Impact, you look at these guys and say, okay, who's here to go here next? Right. And this was one of those matches I said, oh, they're coming. They got to go up. They got to be coming to the next level. And this match was insane. But again, we're looking at Ring of Honor. Those what?
Listen, shout out to my guy Jeffrey. And I talked about this on one of our shows. The Briscoes versus the Good Brothers in Impact this past year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I did not put that on my list. I did not even put that in my honorable mention.
When they were at the house shooting the promo, she was like, hey, the Good Brothers are at my house right now. And I'm like, what they doing there?
Mark came chasing at him with the weapons. Oh my God, that was gold.
He hit the thing, and he was like, and he comes in the truck, and I'm sitting here. She sends me like a clip of him recording it, and I'm like, what are they doing?
It was gold.
He was like, wait until you see this.
Oh, it was gold, man.
I don't know if y'all have seen the commercial with the wrestling buddies.
With
the kids.
Yeah.
I never knew that was a thing. And I saw that when you posted on Twitter. I was like, what?
Oh, shit.
You don't have a wrestling, but you're not telling me you got a wrestling buddy.
He has one, bro.
Listen,
I still got my Sting wrestling buddy, by the way.
Sheesh.
This was Young Bucks versus Briscoes. This was 2018, right before. Wait, when did AEW? This was right before AEW started.
Oh, that's right there. That's goated.
Oh,
that's tough.
My son sleeps with this every night because Uncle Marcus is his best friend.
My son still sleeps with it. Well, not sleeping anymore, but he had his Stings joint for a long time. Yeah,
this thing is like
tough.
It's like
I
legit,
love that.
though. Like, you remember how these were back in the day? Like,
does it make noises?
Yeah, the one that had the Sting had the hands. You could hit him and go woo. Right? Everybody know I'm a
that's
give me
that's awesome,
give me Sting before Crow over Sting Crow any day. That's just me. I love Surfer Sting. I love Surfer Sting.
Blonde hair.
Real fast. Speak on that real fast. We'll move on from that. For that match.
This was 2018. Mm-hmm. 2018.
You son of a bitch. I'm sorry. I'm excited about your mama. I just you talking about that match. But he talked about that match back then, and I'd be when the match, I'm like, I didn't see that. He'd be like, we were arguing with stuff like that because I don't watch everything. Like people try to act like they watch every single thing. I didn't see this match until he brought it up, and go ahead, man. That match was dope.
It's so dope. Like the production on it was amazing. The spots that they had was amazing. The false finishes, and I know we don't like false finishes too much. Like I can deal with one or two. I can't do a 5 or 6. They work well. 5 or 6.
They work well with guys like the Bucks and the Briscoes, though, because they have so much history.
Shout out to the Bucks for that Doomsday device that they performed on Wednesday. That was amazing, and that threw me for a loop. That I thought they were going to win the match off of that, and they lost it, and that was good booking for me because. But all right, it's a tribute. It doesn't. The wins loss doesn't matter,
baby.
Top
Flight
Flight's good, bro.
they're
Them boys
definitely
are
good.
Dante, whatever his name is actually really good.
Dante
I
Martin,
think both.
yeah.
I think his other brother is just as good. That team is special.
You know
That
me,
team
I'm
is
just gonna
special.
say, give me something more than the in-ring. And I think the
What we
Briscoes
got
gave
next?
me more than in-ring. That's all your honorable mentions. There's one I know I'm missing.
No, that was number 3. That was number 3. I only had
I hit
3
the
honorable
3
mentions.
button?
You already put them up there.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
you
I
hit
couldn't
the
see the
3
number.
you-
My bad. I apologize, bro. I
there
didn't put them in order. I couldn't see the 3.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie
yeah.
to you. So number 5 on that
Okay.
list though was this
Number
one.
5. If you did not see this was I think 2014 or 15. Right
Frankie
before
Kazarian. Wow.
This is the one I was at.
SCU. Okay, that's the WrestleMania.
This is the one I
that's
was
the
at.
WrestleMania weekend.
SCU.
Yeah.
If you did not see this match,
That's a good
SCU, amazing. Briscoes, we know what they do. Young Bucks, we know, like, it's just the chemistry between all 3 teams, chef's kiss. Like, the spots
Do it
that they
again.
had, the spots that they had in that was just phenomenal. Like, I don't like triple threat matches for tag team titles too much,
I
but
love
like
'em. I love
that, I mean, I love them, but it's like
I'm a fan of
Dudley's,
Fuller, guy.
Hardy's, and Edge and Christian, that is on that level.
But that's what
That
you gotta
match
keep
is
that.
that
But when you have
serious.
something that good, you cannot
It's
have
on
this
that level.
and it don't live up. You know what I mean? Like I think those
Yeah,
guys.
it's
who are
It's
in
the same thing
business
with the
know-
women's triple threats. Like
Yeah.
we're never gonna live up to the Becky, Charlotte,
Ronda,
Sasha. And I didn't think
yeah.
I didn't think that match was even that great, but that like the magnitude of like what it meant to their careers.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It meant a lot.
Absolutely.
So I get what you're saying.
Jay
Number
and
4.
Adam Cole Bay.
Wow.
This is his first title reign, 2013, I believe. Adam Cole, this is before Adam Cole goes to NXT.
for the dreads.
This is about to say this is for the dreads.
Before the dreads. I mean, the spot that they had with the steel chair where Adam Cole is choking Jay, like with a like it's so crazy and barbaric, but not in a barbaric sense of like blood. It's just like the things that they're doing with ordinary things that made it so great. And Adam Cole to put over Jay the way he did
Baby.
because he was leaving, like amazing. It was great. I
Now,
loved it. And I don't even like Ring of Honor that much.
The 2-1 for me are my 2-1.
Could be switched.
They
It could be switched. Depending on how you look at it.
Again, I'm a mark. I'm a mark for El Generico and I'm a mark for Kevin Steen. And
This is special.
To me,
ladder wars.
Arguably,
Now look how young
me,
Kevin
one
Owens
of
looks,
this
man.
put to me, this what made me say, who the fuck are them boys? Right? Because I'm watching this match and I'm going, I don't know them. I know they're from Delaware. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But if you know, y'all from Delaware as much as everybody knows somebody from Delaware, right? So you kind of tune it out sometime. But I saw this match, Jeff, and just was like, holy moly, donut shop. Like, damn.
Yeah, this one was good.
Because I always thought it was weird to have somebody that was like non-Mexican in a mask. So that also made me pay attention to El Generico too. I'm being honest. If you're not Mexican, why you got a mask on? That belongs to them to me. You know what I mean? But that match there, and number one, let's just tell you right now.
That is before you go ahead.
Yeah.
That is arguably the greatest match in Ring of Honor history. It's like in any Google any article, it's in the top 3.
Well, we know you like
it depends on your preference. It depends on your preference.
Well,
if you like tag matches or single matches.
Well, I said it when
number
it happened
one.
tonight.
You know what it is.
When it happened tonight, I said match of the year.
Man.
I said match of the year then. It was a candidate. And people were like, I'm like, if you didn't see it, go watch it. And yeah, I'll be honest, I'm a FTR mark. So I watched it. And damn it.
Amazing.
Here's some of the highlights.
The trilogy.
But after all, who's the one to blame when I don't even know myself? moving as well.
And it's burning my chest. Yeah, I regret that I didn't explain.
Jay Briscoe, double arm! Jason Drove on the train! Cover! This to do now! What's it gonna take? I'm out of it. I don't know what it takes.
I am stronger than you ever been.
Both guys will get impact off this! Ah! Look at this around the teeth, into the mouth! Oh my goodness! The agony! The pain! He's got it! Wheeler trying to push through! He's trying to get it! He's out! He's out!
That right there.
Probably the greatest match I've ever seen, man.
It definitely was. And listen to the program if you know I love a dog collar match. So that it's initially when it got signed to be that, I was already in tune for it. I think that's the greatest match that I've seen from a non-WWE standpoint. Probably,
absolutely.
Probably,
it was
the story,
amazing.
to the style, to the finish. It just had everything you. It had everything you wanted. The trilogy kind of pissed me off, to say the least, because obviously I'm a Briscoe fan. And when they lost the first two, I was just like, I'm about to call Tony Khan. Like, I called my sister after the second match, and I was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. But Tony is a huge mark. Like, I can't say nothing bad about the dude just from the stories that Mark and everybody have told me. Like, he seems like a really good dude. People give him a lot of shit. I just think he needs a little bit of help on that side.
I do. I want you to fire me, you fucking Mark!
I knew that was coming. I was waiting for it.
As soon as he said it, I had to play it.
Hey, you had to dial it up. But yeah, that match is special, bro.
The only thing we haven't heard is about Charlotte Flair, and
we don't need it. It's not needed. It's not needed.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. I gotta do it. There it is.
I agree with him.
I knew it was coming. Somebody had to say it.
I agree with him.
We were talking on Xbox, Scott, about Jay's promos and I said the hardest shot that I have seen of him. And Mike, could you put this up? The ref putting the dog collar on him, and he's looking with those stone cold eyes.
Yes, sir.
Like it's just so fearsome. Like, and that's how all his promos.
Yeah.
Like, look at that.
It's just business.
Yeah.
That is a dope.
Let's fucking go.
Fucking shot. Like
he was.
And that's what, like, when I think of him, that's one of the things I remember. And then before every promo, and Scott, we were talking about this earlier. Before every promo, he just come on camera smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
And Mark is in the back eating a sub or some shit. Like
eat a sub, a fudge pop.
Don't even realize that they're doing a promo.
Yeah.
And Jay just had it.
I called Mark one time when he started doing that, and I was like, Mark, what the hell is this? He was like, man, it just gets people talking. I said, so look, I heard Bray. This is what I told him. This is like top secret information. I said, I heard Bray is coming back. I said, put a lantern in the back of one of your promos if you really want to get him talking. And he was like, oh, that's a good idea. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it ever happened. But whenever I think of stuff like they're just so down to earth, it's not like, you think you go to a guy like Jericho or somebody with like a good idea. I feel like they would be like, oh, I'm go to wrestling. I'm not going to listen. They have never done that, bro. Like sitting and talking wrestling with them dudes, it's just it's special, and to have that kind of heart, that's special, man. And I've had so many great conversations with both of them, but my favorite moments just of him as a person is probably playing a turkey bowl, seeing him and his dad and his brother go at it because they always were on separate teams. They're always on separate teams, man, and it's cool because they did it at their mom's house and stuff like that.
Scott Thomas, before we got to hear and say our in this tribute, your favorite moments or match?
Just the friendship, man. That's
Gotcha.
my I couldn't have asked for a better friend, man, for real.
Well, if you're out there and you're listening, I know you guys are watching. Thank you for being in there. My wife got a drink in her hand. I got a drink in my hand. If you have it, if you don't even drink, get a glass of water.
Get some Kool-Aid
and take it.
I got chai, but it's gone.
Get a pudding pop.
Here it is.
For Mark,
for Mark, and take this for you, my guy. We love you. What you brought to the wrestling business and your legacy you left behind will not ever be forgotten. People, there it is right there.
I just checked it. I want to see what it was at.
$281,000, man.
$281,000.
So it's already
Listen,
surpassed the 200 they were
I don't even think it's
requesting.
done yet, man.
No, it's not going to be done until we see more people come out of their pockets, because $280,000, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be real, because that's what I am. That ain't enough. Them girls got a lot of things to go through, and there's more that can be out there. Okay?
But for the ones that actually have come forward and helped, we appreciate you.
Absolutely. And those who haven't,
before
$5, $10, it all counts.
Everything counts.
I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the comments showing mad love. We as wrestling fans have not only lost one that is one of the greatest, but guys like me, Jeff, and Scott, we've lost one of our community, one of our state, very close to our town.
One of the homies.
And to people who are first-time listeners liking Matt Golden, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Because if you like content like this is what you will get every week from myself and Mike Knoxxx. And again, I know this is not something that we normally do, and in the circumstances that we had to come together is very, very unfortunate. But I am blessed and proud to have you guys as my brothers, to uplift somebody that we got to interact with more than one time than another, and to talk something that we feel passionate about with pro wrestling, and not just pro wrestling, his life. To hear things about how he was as a person, personal, like his personal life, to share pictures with fans, to hang out and share a beer at a 7-Eleven when he could buy from a Tommy Dreamer, from a Mickey James, from anybody in the industry. And they just chose us as fans to chill and be personable with, the show that they're not Hollywood at all.
And everybody doesn't do that.
Never forgot where he came from.
No,
everybody doesn't do that. I've met dozens of wrestlers.
You should have seen us.
They're not like that. Everybody's not like that.
You should have seen how long it took us to leave that House of Glory show. Because, literally, on the way, I got 2 kids. My sisters, they got Mark and Britt have 7 kids. So I got 2 of them. My wife's got a couple. Mark's got the boys. And they're stopping, and he's just like, and Jay's stopping. And
acting up, man. Acting up.
Yeah, and it was just like they love their fans, man. They always appreciate it. Mark was like,
fans love them.
I asked him, I said, how long do you usually stay and do this, bro? Like, he said, well, if we ain't got nothing to do, we'll stay until everybody's gone. He said, we'll just stay. And I was like, that speaks volumes.
Okay, so real quick before you sign off, so Jeff, do you think that Mark will have a desire to wrestle again, to go in a singles run for his brother, or do you think that it won't happen?
I guess I'll speak on it. I'll kind of give you my opinion. I've talked to my sister a little bit about it too. The Supercard of Honor was obviously booked. They were supposed to make an appearance the 31st. I don't know what his plans are. I haven't talked to him personally. I don't know where he is as far as his wrestling career, but I do think he is in the mindset of like, my brother wouldn't want me to stop, right? Because he obviously could. They have,
and no one would be mad about that if he did.
Nobody, and that's exactly what I told her, Mike. I said, look, Britt, if he decides to continue, he'll have all the support in the world. If he decides to hang him up, he'll have all the support in the world. I said, there's no right or wrong answer. I said, me personally, I will encourage him to make the best decision for him, but I'm also going to encourage him as a brother to continue, because that's what he's worked his whole life to get to this point. And I think he deserves the opportunity to continue to be legendary and to continue the legacy and to continue to develop his character and to continue to allow his kids to watch him. And if he wants to get into a teaching role, a backstage role, or whatever he wants to do, like, I think that he deserves that support and love.
Yep.
And
he should do it.
But a long story short, I do think he will continue. I do think that any promotion that decides to pick him up or run with it obviously has a story in itself. It's very, very easy to write with the tragedy that happened. I don't think we've seen anything quite like it in wrestling. I mean, obviously you had Owen Hart and
Tony Khan,
and all,
don't be a
and all
fucking prick.
Lost his shit.
Now, Tony, there's things that as it comes out, I think you guys will have a real appreciation for who Tony
No,
is.
I just like trolling.
Is there now?
Yeah.
Is there to now? Have you found out any information on a memorial for Jay or anything? Because
There's
my
no-
guess is that Tony is going to show up. I feel like Tony's going to show up. If it's in Delaware, I feel like Tony is coming.
It's not in Delaware, but I cannot confirm
I'm gonna say
anything.
that's yeah.
It's they need a bigger place. I think it's going to be
Obviously,
a lot of folks. I'm trying to help my sister figure that out.
No, you're.
We've had some conversations about it. The goal really is to make sure that the girls can be there. We want to make sure that they're healthy enough to make the trip wherever it is, so they get to be there and see how much of an impact their dad has had.
Before we go, Jeff, Scott, please stay back. Don't let's leave right now. Right away, I want to ask you guys something off air.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't mind. And guys, listen.
Niners don't play till 6.
If you have them,
we're good.
Pour them up again. If not, like I said, comment below. Let us know. Jeff, I thank you for coming on, sharing in this time of everything we're going through. Scott, I appreciate you also coming on for sharing. Dice, I thank you for pulling us out to want to do this and whatnot. And you asked to do it on a Monday, and I thought that it should have its own segment. I didn't want to cross it with the go home show for Raw and Royal Rumble, all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad you actually had me do this. So with that being said, I will sign off the same way I always do because I believe it in my heart. And Dice gets mad when I don't do it. So listen, do not wake up tomorrow morning and say to yourself, I love me some me, but don't love God. That's crazy, y'all. We out of here. Peace.